Welcome to Allies or Enemies. I'm Jess.
And I am Shawn, and this is our 2-year channel anniversary. So we're going to do a top 100. And I know we did this last year, but a lot has changed in a year. We've played something like 400 games.
400 different games, yeah.
We've played, this is almost embarrassing, 1,500 games in the last year, 400 different games in the last year. We've been tracking all this on an app because we are huge nerds, and we've really broken it down to our top 100.
Yeah, and it was still tough to get it down to the top 100. And also on that note, we mainly play the two of us. So I think basically everything on our list does work pretty well for two, or at least in our opinion, works well for two.
Yeah, there's a couple notable exceptions to that, but pretty much. Or we've figured out just some way to kind of like mess with it just a little bit to make it work better for two as well. We got a couple like that. We actually have a couple pretty high up like that. But let's just get rolling because we got a lot of games to get through. So let's kick it off, and I guess let's rock paper scissors for who has to go first.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. Okay. So my first game is Blitzkrieg. And Blitzkrieg, we were talking about a lot of these are two-player games. This is specifically for two players, and it is tremendous. Just super abstracted war game, and it's really cool actually that it's got two sides to it, because one side is Axis and Allies, and the other side is Japan, including a Godzilla, which is pretty fun. And it's just moving cubes around. It's like chits that are hidden and moving cubes around. Just super abstracted and super interesting, and plays in like, it says 20 minutes, probably more like 10, 15 some games.
Yeah, we usually end up playing both sides too, because it's fun to like have a quick game right afterwards.
Yeah, so we almost always double this one up. So that is my number 100.
My number 100 is Takenoko, and Takenoko really has this sense of nostalgia to it. We got it fairly early when we started playing board games and loved it off of the top. And in it, you are building out this garden. So it has bright, colorful tiles that you're putting out, and then you're also building up these bamboo stalks. So it has this great 3D element to it as well. And the best part is the panda, you're moving and you're chomping away at the bamboo and you're storing it in the tum-tum. And I love the look to it, and it's one that I still bring back and love playing still.
Yeah, and the gardener's so frazzled. I love the garden. You can feel his pain as the panda continues to gobble up all of his bamboo. Yeah, it's a great theme, and it's one that just really hasn't left our playing. We just keep on playing it.
And that's number 100 for me.
My number 99 is Calico, and some people are a bit hard on Calico because it is so hard, and that is part of the fun of it. Is you cannot be a perfectionist. You will never get it perfect. You will never finish all of the parts of your quilt perfectly. You just can't. So you just got to let it go, and I really like that about it. It kind of it's slowly curing me of being a perfectionist, and it looks beautiful. It's super quick. There's just something really like, it's calming but also nerve-wracking at the same time.
Yeah, there is a little bit of that sense of stress of when someone pulls out a tile, because you have 3 to pick from to add to your quilt, of like really hoping for that perfect tile to come out and just having to like give up on certain ones. But I love putting the cats on the quilt.
Yeah, not even hoping for the perfect tile, but just an okay, anything but the tile that comes out sometimes. And that is part of the frustrating fun, and I really like it. And that is Calico.
My number 99 is Tangaru, and this takes place kind of in the Pacific Island general region. It's a dice placement game as you visit the different islands to do certain actions and manage your resource and get nomads to kind of join your tribes as well. And the art is by Andrew Bosley, who I always enjoy the art. So I really like the theme and the mechanics and the looks of it. It works great for me.
I was really happy to see this on your list because this just barely didn't make mine, and I feel like it is a little bit underrated even by me. I think it just kind of flew under the radar, but we've been playing it a little bit lately, and it's a surprisingly solid game.
And that's my number 99.
My number 98 is Libertalia, and specifically the new version, Winds of Gale Crest. And I got to admit, I didn't play the old version, so I don't know a lot about it. I don't know how it stacks up, but I know that I like this new version a lot. And this is one of those that does tend to be a more than two players game. For the most part, we like the two-player game. Is generally better with more. But even with two players, I like this game. The art in this is terrific. It's so different from what we would usually play because it's such a like head-to-head kind of cutthroaty game. But it's sometimes nice to have those in the mix.
And I do love that everyone has the same cards to choose from. So there is a little bit of trying to kind of read everybody else at the table and guess what they're going to play so that you get them the best value for your card, which is a fun part of it.
Yeah, a lot of mind reading involved in this. A lot of pirate mind reading. And that is my 98.
My number 98 is Ice Cool. And it could be Ice Cool 1, Ice Cool 2. We have them both, and they are both fantastic. I really like dexterity games. And this one just nails it. The weighted penguins that you're flicking have such a good feel to them. And your goal in it, there's a couple different ways to play. But one of them is you are penguins who are trying to skip class, and then there's a hall monitor that's trying to catch you. So the other player is the hall monitor. And you've just got to flick your penguins through these doorways to catch your fish. And I have a blast every time I play it.
Yeah, Jess said either 1 or 2. I'm strictly 2 because I love doing there's special moves in it. And I love flipping over the doorway. It is my absolute favorite part of the whole thing. And one of those other ways to play is to smush them both together and do this big race, which is also fun. And it's just really fun to run around the table with people flicking penguins.
Yeah, so if you like flicking games and you like penguins, Ice Cool's a good fit, and that's number 98.
Number 97 is Honey Buzz. And I'm so, like, sometimes I think this is way, way up on my list. I feel like I always do, and then I forget about it, and then we play it again. I'm like, oh yeah, I really like Honey Buzz. And I feel like even right now, if we played this right now, I'd probably bump it up 10 spots. But Honey Buzz, super cute worker placement game, and it's kind of it's a little bit tricky because you got to like build out your tiles, and you got to build them in a circle, and then you put things into your like nectar circle, and then that sets off like a chain reaction of different things. So it's like a thinky worker placement game that's also super adorable, and you're making honey for different woodland creatures, which is lovely as well. Just really well put together package.
Yeah, I love the components in it. The nectar and honey, which I can't remember which one it is, but it looks great, and the artwork as well is just very charming.
Yeah, it is super charming game, and that is my 97.
My number 97 is Targi, and Targi is a great worker placement game. It's a 2-player only game, but it works in a really neat way that it's a deck of cards that get laid out, and when you put your workers out, the action you can do are where your workers intersect. And I just find it so clever of being so so changeable depending on which cards come out, and having to collect your resources and make your decisions of which islands you're going to collect for your points. Every time we play it, I think I'm always impressed with how it plays.
Yeah, this does so much with a deck of cards. It's crazy. It really is just using the cards as a movable game board, and we've got the expansion to it as well, which also adds a whole bunch more to it. And yeah, I'm always impressed by this one. And for this little box, that it does a lot. This is well worth the like super low price of it too.
And that was my number 97.
Number 96 is Parks. And Parks is a beautiful game. This actually probably fell quite a bit down on my list. I think that's just because we haven't played it much. But it's just such a beautiful, relaxing game. And I love the artwork. I love the artwork that they put together for the national parks, which was independent of this, but that they brought it into this. And I think they did a really good job of that.
Yeah, it looks beautiful, the cards that you're collecting, and just the fact that you're moving along this one-way trail as you hike along. It does have that nice feel, like you said, the relaxing feel to it.
And that is Parks.
My number 96 is Merchant's Cove, and the best thing about Merchant's Cove is the asymmetry across all of the different characters. So some characters you're going to be playing kind of like a mini potion explosion, where if you grab a set of marbles, if it's the same colors, you get to take kind of as many as there are of that color. But then other ones, you're doing completely different things. Like one of them is more of a dice placement game. Another one is a little bit more random as you move a pirate ship. And so it's really enjoyable to pick up a new character and learn how they play. And when you add the different expansions to that, it adds some really interesting ones. I think the expansion characters might be my favorite characters to play.
Yeah, the roll and write one I think might be the best character.
Yeah, I also like the dragon keeper as well, with having to manage the dragon poop. And so it is amazing how much they've done by having each character kind of play mini different games while still working off of the same board.
Yeah, and I'll definitely be talking about this one later, so I won't say a lot, but I will say I've been playing the solo mode just lately, and I really like that as well. It's just super interesting and beautiful game.
And that's my number 96.
Number 95 is Unfair. And a lot of folks don't like Unfair because it is super mean, but we do only play it without the mean stuff. So, and I know people will think, well, why don't you just play Funfair? Because Unfair's got more stuff and more expansions, and it's just quite frankly a better game. But I do find it a lot better if we always play with there's one kind of special card that you can put in, so you can switch these different cards, and that takes out all of the super mean cards, or most of them at least. And if you don't know what Unfair is, I should have started with that. This is a making your own theme park game. So you're building out a theme park with all of these totally different themes: pirates, ninjas, westerns, all sorts of stuff. And I love amusement parks, and so far, this is my favorite of the amusement park games.
Yeah, and it is interesting because you're not each playing a different theme park. The decks get shuffled together, and you try and kind of build the sets that work well together. So it's really fun to do this combo theme park that does these really interesting mixes.
Yeah, and that is Unfair.
My number 95 is Quacks of Quedlinburg, and it is a great push your luck game. In it, you are these alchemists, old-timey alchemists that are building these potions, and you have to add cherry bombs, and if a certain number value of cherry bombs come, your potion explodes. But it's really great to build your bag and to pull the chips out, and really it's really satisfying when you're kind of have a 50-50 chance of blowing up and you're able to pull the right chip at the right time. Some games I get super frustrated as I just blow up round after round, but other games have definitely kept this one high up in my ranking.
And I think the expansions have helped with it as well, because they add like little bits without too much complexity. And I love that there's so many different kinds of
ingredients.
Of ingredients, of recipes that all do totally different things. So you can really kind of mix and match and do different stuff with this. Yeah, this is a terrific gateway game.
Absolutely. And that is my number 95.
And speaking of terrific gateway games, my number 94 is Wingspan. And Wingspan, you've heard of it. This is like set the world on fire. This is one of like the top selling games that there is, and really a terrific ambassador, I think, for the hobby. The artwork's beautiful. It's pretty simple to understand, a really solid engine building game. And I'm really excited right now because they've just announced that the Asia expansion's coming out, but more exciting is they've said that there are 7 expansions coming out. And that means I'm hoping that there will be an Antarctica one, and I so want one that is just penguins. I'm so hopeful that that's what it is. Either that or dinosaurs. If there's one of prehistoric, like flying reptiles, that would blow my socks off.
Yeah, we really liked it when like all of the New Zealand birds and things got added as well. That was a super fun addition to have all of the flightless birds in it.
That, I think, really made some nice changes to it as well. And so that is Wingspan.
My 94 is Root, and Root is a fantastic, very asymmetric area control type of game. And that's usually not my favorite type of game, which is maybe why this is so low. But for that genre, this one does it really well. And I love that there are enough different factions that you can kind of pick how combative you want to be. So some of them are more about kind of building. Other ones, like I really don't want to fight people. I can just be the vagabond and be off doing my own thing. We've got all of the expansions to it, and having such a variety of different types of characters to play has really made this one that I'm still really happy to keep coming back to.
Yeah, I'm glad Jess has been such a good support about this, because I had to kind of win her over. And I gotta say that the new expansion of the Hirelings, I think, have really improved the two-player experience. Because we got the clockwork, and that works fine, but it is a little bit of work. But the Hirelings are great just for filling out the board, and we've been having a lot of fun with that too.
And they look really cool too.
Yeah, they're super cute.
And so that was Root.
My number 93 is Cartographers, and this is the first of what's going to be probably a whole bunch of roll and writes, because we're big roll and write fans. We love a quick game. We love a game we can travel with, and Cartographers is a terrific one. We've said it before, you got to have the pencil crayons for it, because part of the fun is like drawing your villages and drawing the trees and drawing out the rivers and having the beautiful village in the middle. But we've also got Heroes recently too, which does add a little bit to it. We haven't played with it that much, but it is kind of fun to have a way to fight back against the monsters too.
Yeah, and it's hilarious how much time Shawn spends drawing his in. He really puts a lot of effort into his trees and his houses, and so his map at the end is always very impressive.
Yeah, this is like a 10-minute game that does tend to take us half an hour, but it's a well-spent half hour, I think. So that is Cartographers.
My number 93 is Red Rising, and this is a really kind of a quick card game in which you start off with a set of characters, but every turn you have to kind of play a character and use the power and pick up a new character with your goal of getting the best mix at the end. And we've played it exclusively at 2, and we know it so well that it does play really quickly, which I think is part of the charm of being able to make some interesting decisions in a short period of time. But part of the joy of this too is it introduced me to the Red Rising book series, which I really enjoyed.
We really need to play this at 4 though. I think because we have only played it at 2, and I got a feeling, well, everyone has told me that this is a better game at a higher player count, and I like it at 2. So I'm really keen to try this with more folks. My number 92 is Suburbia, and I'm a sucker for city building. One of the first video games I fell in love with was SimCity, just the like original like black and white, or I think it was like green and gray version of it. I could just play that over and over and over, and I love it. I think I've always been kind of chasing that with board games, and Suburbia is the closest I've found to that system, and it really is great. I would say, were I to buy this again, I might get the smaller box, because this enormo box of it, while nice to have, isn't really that necessary. But I am glad to have all of the expansions. We do mix all of those in every game.
Yeah, it is anything that you're building out your own thing, I'm on board for, because you're left with something a bit different at the end at every time you play. And so this does it really well in terms of that mix. And I always find by the time I'm kind of like, oh, it's too big for me to remember how many tiles I have, is kind of usually when the game wraps up.
Yeah, they've timed it to perfection. Of you hit the kind of your maximum complexity, and then it's like, all right, that's it. That's all you need. And your brain's like, phew, that's good. Really fun game, and looks terrific on the table. And that is Suburbia.
My number 92 is Wonderland's War. And so as you might imagine, it has a Alice in Wonderland theme, and it looks amazing on the table. It has a really strong table presence, which really helps as well. But the interesting thing is there are 2 different phases. So on one phase is the tea party. So you are grabbing your cards, which usually helps build your bag with different chits. And then the second phase is a little bit of an area control phase. So you're pulling out your chits in battle to see who has controls of the different lands. And it works really well that way, because sometimes you don't actually want to win, because you're also doing different quests and stuff. So it has a nice mix of things that the focus isn't just on controlling the different areas.
And I gotta say, I just said for Suburbia that I could have lived with a smaller box. I kind of wish I got the bigger box for Wonderland, so I'm just never happy with what I have. But I like this game as well a lot. It's so pretty.
And I think the standard edition still is really pretty as well. So if you were to go for one, the standard edition is still great.
It's got everything. It's honestly got everything that you need. It's just you're always like, oh, what if I had that little extra thing in there? But it's all you need.
And that's my number 92.
My number 91 has seen a little bit of wear and tear. This bad boy has flown from Canada, and that is War of the Ring. And War of the Ring is we don't get to this one a lot. We play it kind of like once a year, but when we play it, it's our whole day, and we'll watch Lord of the Rings at the same time, and it becomes a whole big thing. And it is such an epic adventure because it is, the one team trying to sneak the ring into Mordor, and they do such a good job of like finding a way to actually do that where it feels like that. And then also you've got all of the battling going on everywhere. And it's really fun to be on either side of that. And the game plays so differently, and it looks amazing. Just how much it fills up the table looks really cool. The only tricky is because we play it so rarely, we have to relearn it every single time that we play it.
But it is worth it because we still remember what happened for each of the times we played it, because it did such a great job of kind of building up the narrative a little bit just through the decisions that you're making.
Yeah, I can't think of, there's very few other games that have that where, I could tell you of like all kind of 10-ish times we played it, and that's all we played it in like 5-6 years. But I could tell you exactly how it played out every one of those times. So that says a lot for it. So that is War of the Ring.
My number 91 is Villagers. I really love tableau builders and card games. And this is one that, like the title suggests, you are collecting out villagers. But there's some fun kind of combos that you get and chaining that happens of needing certain ones. And the more you play the game with someone who's familiar with it, the more you both recognize kind of the really valuable characters. So there's a little bit of oh, you got that one. That's the one I most needed. But still able to use it. You just have to pay the other person money, which I think is a good mechanic for that.
And there's a new expansion for this as well, which I'm really interested in, because the original expansions, I think they came in the Kickstarter. I don't know, but they all add like a nice little level of complexity to it that I think they're not necessary, but they're really helpful. So I'm really interested to see what happens with the new one as well. I'm not sure if it's out. We should get it.
We should get it. And that's my number 91.
And so that is it for 100 down to 91. And it is important to remember that if it's in our top 100, we love it. So please, none of the like, what? Why is that only 94? It's holy cow, that is 94, because 94 is pretty high out of all of the games that we've played in our like entire lives. These are all just 100 games that we love.
And if you played any of the ones that we mentioned and you like them, please put that in the comments. We'd love to hear about that. As usual, please like, subscribe, all of that really helps us out. And hopefully we'll see you for the next one.